Hello, my name is Pastor Kathy Kollar. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church near Malabar Farm and St. Paul Lutheran Church in Lucas, Ohio. Greetings. We're reading through the Bible with commentary. We are in the book of Joshua. And the Israelites have come into the land, they've crossed the Jordan, and they've conquered all kinds of people, which did not happen overnight. After some time, so it was definitely not just a couple of weeks worth, that they managed to conquer most of the people in the Promised Land. Not all of. In fact, they're going to be dealing with some of these people for the rest of their history. And then we got into chapter 13. We actually started chapter 13 yesterday. It's the part of Canaan still unconquered. So we read about all of these places that were conquered, but not all of it. Chapter 13. Now Joshua was old and advanced in years, and the Lord said to him, "You are old and advanced in years, and very much of the land still remains to be possessed. This is the land that still remains. All the regions of the Philistines, and all those of the Geshurites, from Shihor, which is east of Egypt, northward to the boundary of Ekron, it is reckoned as Canaanite. There are 5 rulers of the Philistines, those of Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. And guess where those 5 cities are? The Gaza Strip. Still a hard area for the Israelites. And those of the Avim in the south, and all of the land of the Canaanites, and the Mearah that belongs to the Sidonians, and to Aphek, to the boundary of the Amorites, in the land of the Gebalites, and all Lebanon toward the east, from Baal-gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo-hamath, all the inhabitants of the hill country, from Lebanon to Misrephoth-maim, even all the Sidonians. I will myself drive them out from before the Israelites. Only allot the land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have commanded you. Now therefore divide this land for an inheritance to the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh." So lots of place names in this whole big section. Verse 8, with the other half-tribe of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites received their inheritance which Moses gave them beyond the Jordan eastward, as Moses the servant of the Lord gave them, from Aroer, which is on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, and the town that is in the middle of the valley, and all the tableland, from Medeba as far as Dibon, and all the cities of King Sihon and the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon as far as the boundary of the Ammonites, and Gilead, and the region of the Geshurites, the Maacathites, and Mount Hermon, and all Bashan to Salekah, all the kingdom of Og Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He alone was left of the survivors of the Rephaim. So he is the last of the tall giant people, although later on we're going to have Goliath, but he is a very tall person. These Moses had defeated and driven out, yet the Israelites did not drive out the Geshurites or the Maacathites, but Geshur and Maacath live within Israel to this day. So they conquered the area, but not all of the people, and some of the people were still living amongst them. Verse 14, to the tribe of Levi alone Moses gave no inheritance. The offerings by fire to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he said to them. So we started out by saying, okay, here's a big area that hasn't been conquered yet, and then all this area east of the Jordan. So the Jordan runs north and south. Israel, if you're looking at a map, little tiny country east of some of it's still to the west, but mostly east of the Jordan, between the Mediterranean and the Jordan is the easy way to think of it. But some of the Israelites settled west of the Jordan, and they came from Egypt, which is southwest, and then they came up through the desert and then around and in across the Jordan River. So 2.5 tribes, Gad, Reuben, half of Manasseh, which originally Joseph was Ephraim and Manasseh, but apparently half of Manasseh wanted to be over there. And the Levites didn't get anything. So now, of that territory, here's Reuben. Moses gave an inheritance to the tribe of the Reubenites according to their clans. Their territory was from Aroer, which is on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, and the town that is in the middle of the valley, and all the tableland by Medeba, with Heshbon and all the towns that are in the tableland. Dibon and Bamoth-baal, Beth-baal-meon, and Jahaz, Kedemoth, and Methath, and Kiriathaim, and Sibmah, and Zereth Shahar in the hill of the valley, and Beth Peor in the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshimoth, that is all the towns of the tableland, and all the kingdom of King Sihon of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, whom Moses defeated with the leaders of Midian, Evi, and Rechem, and Zur, and Hur, and Reba as the princes of Sihon, who lived in the land. Along with the rest of those that they put to death, the Israelites also put to the sword Balaam son of Beor, who practiced divination, and the border of the Reubenites was the Jordan and its banks. This was the inheritance of the Reubenites, according to their families, with their towns and villages. So you might remember we read about Balaam. He was sort of a freelance prophet, and they asked him to come and curse the Israelites. And he said, I can only do what God tells me to do. So he came and instead blessings over the Israelites, but he still ended up killed by, but along with the rest of those put to death, the Israelites also put to the sword Balaam son of Beor, who practiced divination. So apparently the way that he did things was not really through God, and he was one of the people that ended up killed in the whole process. Territory of Gad. Moses gave, verse 24, Moses gave an inheritance also to the tribe of Gadites according to their families. Their territory was Jazer, all the towns of Gilead, and half the land of the Ammonites, to Aroer, which is east of Reba, from Heshbon to Ramoth Mizpah, and Betonim, from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley of Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Sukkoth, and Zaphron, the rest of the kingdom of King Sihon of Heshbon, the Jordan and its banks, as far as the lower end of the Sea of Chinnereth, that is now known as the Sea of Galilee, and during the time of the Romans was known as the Sea of Tiberias. So it's a little freshwater sea north of the Dead Sea. The Jordan flows out of it and down into the Dead Sea. So at this point, the Sea of Chinnereth, eastward beyond the Jordan. This is the inheritance of the Gadites, according to their clans, with their towns and villages. Moses gave an inheritance to the half-tribe of Manasseh. It was allotted to the half-tribe of the Manassites, according to their families. Their territory extended from Mahanaim through all Bashan, the whole kingdom of King Og of Bashan, and all the settlements of Jair, which are in Bashan, 60 towns, and half of Gilead, and Ashtaroth and Edrei, the towns of the kingdom of Og and Bashan. These were allotted to the people of Machir, son of Manasseh, according to their clans, for half the Machirites. These are the inheritances that Moses distributed in the plains of Moab, beyond the Jordan, east of the Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses gave no inheritance. The Lord God of Israel is their inheritance, as he said to them. So a little bit of a placeholder. Okay, we're at the end of this section. We're going to repeat what we said about the Levites. Their Lord is their inheritance. Chapter 14. These are the inheritances that the Israelites received in the land of Canaan, which the priest Eleazar and Joshua son of Nun and the heads of the families of the tribes of Israelites distributed to them. Their inheritance was by lot, as the Lord had commanded Moses, for the 9 1/2 tribes. For Moses had given an inheritance to 2 1/2 tribes beyond the Jordan. But the Levites he gave no inheritance among them. For the people of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim, and no portion was given to the Levites in the land, but only towns to live in, with their pasture lands for their flocks and herds. The Israelites did as the Lord commanded Moses. They allotted the land. Verse 6. Then the people of Judah came to Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb son of Jephunneh and the Kenizzite said to him, You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, in Kadesh Barnea, concerning you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses the servant of the Lord sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land. I brought him an honest report, but my companions who went up with me made the heart of the people melt. Yet I wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. And Moses swore on that day, saying, Surely the land on which your foot has trodden shall be an inheritance for you and your children forever, because you have wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. And now, as you see, the Lord has kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years since the time that the Lord spoke his word to Moses, while Israel was journeying through the wilderness. And here I am today, 85 years old. So if they have 40 years of wandering through the desert, some time getting ready to cross the Jordan, and then some time conquering all the people. So it's been about 5 years worth of getting ready and going in and conquering a bunch of people. I am still as strong today as I was on the day that Moses sent me. My strength is now as my strength was then, for war and for going and coming. So now give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke on that day. For you heard on that day how the Anakim were there with great fortified cities. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I shall drive them out, as the Lord said. Verse 13. Then Joshua blessed him, and gave Hebron to Caleb son of Jephunneh for an inheritance. So Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, to this day, because he wholeheartedly followed the Lord, the God of Israel. Now the name of Hebron, formerly with Kiriath Arba, this Arba was the greatest man among the Anakim, and the land had rest from the war. So Kiriath Arba means the city of Arba, and Arba was a great man among the Anakim. But now the new name of that city is Hebron. Chapter 15. The lot for the tribe of the people of Judah, according to their families, reached southward to the boundary of Edom, to the wilderness of Zin at the farthest south, and their south boundary ran from the end of the Dead Sea, from the bay that faces southward. It goes out southward of the ascent of Akrabin, passes along to Zin, goes up south of the Kadesh Barnea, along by Hezron up to Adar, takes a turn at Karka, passes along the Asmon, goes out by Wadi of Egypt, and comes to its end at the sea. This shall be your south boundary. And the east boundary is the Dead Sea, to the mouth of the Jordan. And the boundary to the north side runs from the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan, and the boundary goes up to Beth Hoglah, and passes along north of Beth Araba, and the boundary goes up to the stone of Bohan, Reuben's son. And the boundary goes up to Debir from the valley of Achor, and so northward, turning toward Gilgal, which is opposite the ascent of Adumim, which is on the south side of the valley. And the boundary passes along to the waters of En-Shemesh, and ends at En-Rogel. Then the boundary goes up by the valley of the son of Hinnom, at the southern slope of the Jebusites, that is Jerusalem. And the boundary goes up to the top of the mountain that lies over against the valley of Hinnom, on the west, at the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. Then the boundary extends from the top of the mountain to the spring of the waters of Nephtoah. Lots of places. We have so many places to name today. And from there to the towns of Mount Ephron, and from then the boundary bends around Baalah, that is Kiriath Jearim, and the boundary circles west of Baalah to Mount Seir, passes along to the northern slope of Mount Jearim, that is Chesalon, and goes down to Beth-Shemesh, passes along by Timnah. The boundary goes out to the slope of the hill north of Ekron, and then the boundary bends around to Shikharon, passes along to Mount Baalah, and goes out to Jabneel. Then the boundary comes to an end at the sea, and the west boundary was the Mediterranean with its coast. This is the boundary surrounding the people of Judah according to their families. So the southernmost part of the country. And Jerusalem to this day is in the southern part of Israel. And a lot of times when we get to the talking about Jesus, he's up in Galilee, which is way up north, and Jerusalem is way down south. Verse 13, according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, he gave to Caleb son of Jephunneh a portion among the people of Judah, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the father of Anak. And Caleb drove out from there the three sons of Anak, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak. From there he went up against the inhabitants of Debir. Now the name of Debir formerly was Kiriath Sefer. And Caleb said, whoever attacks Kiriath Sefer and takes it, to him I will give my daughter Aksa as wife. Othniel son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, so his nephew, took it, and he gave him his daughter Aksa as wife. When she came to him, she urged him to ask her father for a field. As she dismounted from her donkey, Caleb said to her, "What do you wish?" She said to him, "Give me a present. Since you have set me in the land of the Negev, give me springs of water as well." So Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Since she's a very smart woman, she's like, if I'm going to live down here in the desert, then give me some land that includes some water. Verse 20, this is the inheritance of the tribe of the people of Judah according to their families. So Caleb is basically part of Judah, or there's Judah and then there's this little piece that is Caleb's at the top. The towns belonging to the tribe of the people of Judah in the extreme south toward the boundary of Edom were Kabzeel, Eder, Jagur, Kina, Demona, Adada, Kedesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Zeph, Telam, Baaloth, Hazor-Hadattah, Kiriath Hezron, that is Hazor, Amam, Shema, Moladah, Hazargada, Heshmon, Beth Peller, Hazak-Shual, Beersheba. We'll hear about Beersheba again. Actually, we've heard about Beersheba back in Genesis. Biziothea, Baalah, Iman, Ezem, Eltolad, Chisil, Horma, Ziklag, Madmanah, Sansana, Lebaoth, Shilhin, Ain, and Rimmon, in all 29 towns with their villages. So this is a pretty good sized city with their suburbs. Verse 33, and in the lowland, Eshtaol, Zoar, Ashna, Zonoah, and Ganim, Tapua, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Soko, Azekah, Shearaim, Adithaim, Gedera, Gederothaim, 14 towns with their villages. I'm just thinking, we said we were going to read the whole Bible. We're going to sit here and I'm going to fight through all these names. And I'm not pronouncing them correctly, but I'm doing my best. Because it was 3,000 years ago, and who knows how they pronounced it back then, but I'm going to try. Zenan, Hadasha, Migdalgad, Dylan, Bizpah, Joktiel, Lachish, Boskath, Eglon, Kabon, Lamam, Chitlish, Gederoth, Bethdagon, Naamah, and Makkedah, 16 towns with their villages. Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Iptha, Ashna, Nizib, Keilah, Akzib, and Mareshah, 9 towns with their villages. Ekron with its dependencies and its villages, from Ekron to the sea, all that were near Ashdod with their villages. So these parts are considered parts of Judah, but they never quite conquered them, and the Philistines were problems throughout all of David's time. Ashdod with its towns and villages, Gaza with its towns and villages, to the Wadi of Egypt, and the Great Sea with its coast. And the whole Gaza Strip was part of Judah, but was never really quite conquered by Judah. And in the hill country, Shamir, Jatir, Sokoth, Danath, Kiriath Sana, that is Debir, Aneb, Eshtemoth, Anan, Goshen, Holon, and Giloth, 11 towns with their villages. Arab, Duma, Ishan, Janim, Beth Tapua, Aphekah, Humta, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, and Zior, 9 towns with their villages. Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Judah, Zedriel, Jokdeam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah, 10 towns with their villages. Halhul, Bethzur, Gedor, Maarath, Bethanath, Eltikon, 6 towns with their villages. We're almost done. Kiriath Baal, that is Kiriath Jearim, and Reba, 2 towns with their villages. In the wilderness of Beth Arabah, Midden, Sekeka, Nibshan, the city of salt, and Engedi, 6 towns with their villages. Engedi is still there. It's where there's a bunch of springs. But the people of Judah could not drive out the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So the Jebusites live with the people of Judah in Jerusalem to this day, which later on, that town Jebus will be conquered by David and become Jerusalem. But at this point in the story, It's not Jerusalem yet. So that was a lot of place names. And I'm like, okay, if we're going to read through the Bible, we're going to read through the entire Bible, including names of places that we have no idea where they are, and other places that we do know where they are. This is the southern part of Israel, down at the bottom, starting kind of from Egypt and working its way up toward the Dead Sea. And the southern part of Israel, later on, there's going to be a big split between the northern part and the southern part. And after King Solomon, the Israel is broken into two kingdoms, a northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Southern kingdom is mostly Judah with also Benjamin, and the northern kingdom was the other tribes. So we will hear about that later. But it's some of this still matters even 1,000 years later when Jesus comes along, and they're from the tribe of Judah and from the south, basically. So, and Judah wrote most of the history. So, David is from Judah, and there's a lot of pro-Judah. So Judah's the first one listed, and apparently by lot, they got the southern part. But also Caleb said, remember, God said I could have the land in the hill country because that's where I set foot. And so Caleb got his piece of the land kind of on the north side of Judah, on the south tip of the country. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, comment. See you again tomorrow. Have a great day.